So today, oh my God, it's too loud.
That's fine.
Okay, go.
It's fine.
Okay. Today I'm going to talk about David, and before that, I'm going to say there was a king that was the ruler of like Israel, and there was a prophet named Samuel, and he was praying, and God told him to anoint some other guy, like in Bethlehem, because he didn't approve of, he didn't like Saul, the king, and because he was like disobeying him and he didn't do anything like good. Well, yeah. And then, so he obeyed God, and he went to Bethlehem and to anoint another person, and he said to go to anoint the son of Jesse. So he went there, and he saw his Jesse's first son. He was the oldest, and he was like the most mature and like the tallest. And then Samuel, sorry. He was like, oh, certainly God wants me to anoint you because you look the most, that knows more. But then God told him, he's like, don't look at the outer appearance. I want a person like has a heart focused on me. And then, so he looked at all the 7 other sons, and God said that it wasn't him. So Samuel asked if there was another son, and then Jesse said that there was one in taking care of the sheep. So they sent for him, and then when he came in, the Lord told Samuel that to anoint him because he's the one. So he got anointed, and then that day forward, God was with him for the rest of his life. And then later on, it says in the Bible that Saul, the king, he was bad or whatever, and he disobeyed God, and he didn't listen to him. So bad spirits would come into his life, and torment him. And so Saul sent for a person to play the lyre. Saul sent one of his servants to find a person who played the lyre and worship God, so the bad spirits could be released. So they called for David because David played the harp or the lyre or whatever. And so he would go there all the time and just worship God, and then the bad spirits would leave Saul. And and then later on in the story, there was a battle between the Philistines and the Israelites, and the Philistines were huge people. They were the giants back then. They're over 9 feet tall, and the Israelites were like us, tiny people, and then
normal.
over 9 feet tall. They were really tall. And then Goliath, one of the giants over there, he said, choose one of your men to come over here and fight me, and whoever wins, your people will become my servants, or vice versa, And then David heard that, and he said to Saul, if he could go over there and fight him, because he didn't want his people were super terrified, and they didn't want to fight him. So he got the courage and went up to Saul and said, I'll do it. And then Saul gave him the armor, the fighting armor or whatever. And then David was he couldn't walk in them. He wasn't used to all that. So David's supplies were only these 5 stones that he got from a river and a slingshot. And then he went to the battle where it was. And then he said, in 1 Samuel 17:45, it says, David said to the Philistine, you come against me with a dagger, spear, and a sword, but I come against you in the name of Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel's army. Today the Lord will hand you over to me. Today I'll strike you down, cut your head off, and give the corpse of the Philistine camp to the birds in the sky and the creatures of the earth. Then the world will know that Israel has a God, and the whole And this whole assembly will know that not by it is not by sword and by spears that the Lord saves, but the battle is the Lord's. He will hand you over to us. And then when he said that, the Goliath got really mad at him, so he went to go fight to attack. And then David got out of his bag the stone and slung it, and got the Philistine right on his forehead, and he fell down immediately and died. And then David went up to him, and then got the Philistine's sword and cut Goliath's head off and fed it to the birds and the creatures of the earth. Yeah. And then Saul, after he heard that he killed the Philistine with a stone or whatever, he got amazed, and he said he loved David as much as he loved himself. And he kept David in his palace, to stay there, so he wouldn't go back into his house and had to come back. He just stayed with him, and he put him in charge of he put him as the commander of the soldiers. And then one day, they came back from fighting, and they were victorious. And the people there, the town, they were all cheering and dancing and singing, and the women saying, Saul has killed his thousands, but David his tens of thousands. So they were saying that David has killed more people than Saul. And then when Saul heard this, he got so mad and super jealous to David. So he hated him after that. And the following day, an evil spirit came upon him again because of the jealousy and all of that. And as usual, David was playing his lyre, and Saul had a spear in his hand, and he threw it, and it almost hit him, but it got him on the side, and then David ran away, so he didn't get to kill him. And Saul was he did that because he was really afraid of David, because the Lord was with him, and Saul didn't have God in him. So because of that jealousy or whatever, he reassigned him to, because he was commander of all the troops, so he put him into only 1,000 men, a little troop. And then but still Saul saw that he was really successful in that, and he was dreaded him for that. He hated him so much, but the people of Israel loved him. And and one time, there was two chances that David had to kill, he could kill Saul, but he always said, he's I would never kill somebody that is anointed by God. And he, one of the times, Saul was bended over, or one of the times he was sleeping, he could have killed him right away, but he said he wouldn't, because God told him not to, and he would never kill a person with God that was anointed by God. And then later on in the story, they had another battle